Gaming is currently fighting an unwinnable war. A new, unstoppable type of cheat called DMA, or direct memory access, is slowly infecting the entire industry. But today, we got a hold of actual cheat developers and distributors. The big dogs have come out to play.
Is there a next step to this? Like, so DMAs, the custom firmwares, how much worse does it get with cheats?
There is actually no way they can take out the DMA since it's all hardware. There is also something called a KVM.
Wow.
But the funny thing is, not many people know you can actually cheat off a KVM, which is actually more undetected than a DMA.
Today, we are going to continue to explore what is going on in the industry's #1 game, Fortnite. Currently, the #1 player in North America is Peterbot, and tons of people swear he is cheating. Cheating is likely to be much more widespread than we realize. Now, the real question is, how bad has cheating become actually? In y'all's opinion, is cheating worse than most people realize?
I think cheating is worse than everyone thinks it is, because I think there hasn't been a Cash Cup or FNCS finals without cheaters in years. I don't think there will ever be a Cash Cup finals without a cheater in it. Never again. Never.
Wow.
And it's crazy because there's so many cheaters in this game now too. You have to like use like a DMA or something to cheat now. It's kind of complicated.
What does that even mean?
So you don't know about the DMA stuff? We're on the block, there's a tier 1 pro that uses like DMA and stuff like that. And he like just never gets banned unless they go in and manually ban him.
There's like so many people that are like, for epic games, the only real problem for cheaters is when they're causing real havoc, you know? They're just going around the lobbies raging.
Yeah.
I feel like these legit cheaters who are only using maybe ESP and a little bit of aimbot, they're not too much for epic. They don't really care about them in a way compared to the rage hackers.
Right. Wait a minute. Did he just say legit cheating? Yeah. So let's clear this up. Throughout my interview, these cheat developers kept using a term they coined legit cheating. When they say this, they are meaning those that are not blatantly cheating. They are not fully tapped at all times and using things like spinbot and flying.
Will they'll go do manual bans, right? If enough people mass report, they'll go do manual bans, no?
The art of legit cheating is just not playing like obvious. So like dying to people camping,
Right.
not looking at people through walls. If you act like you don't have ESP, you will survive. I survived for 6 months.
They are still not playing in a legitimate fashion, but only using, let's say, ESP to be able to see through walls, or wall hacks, or those who are only toggling aimbot in certain situations. So instead of cheating in the fashion you might think, it's more subtle cheating.
It's like you add in enough human error to make it look believable.
Yeah, like when
and then it's hard to detect.
It's like when you're on height, for example. You don't just toggle everyone. You don't just hit every bullet. You shoot a mag and maybe hit 10 bullets out of a mag. If you're playing legit, you will get away with it and you can claim the earnings. And I've claimed.
Let's say maybe you are in endgame and need a refresh. Well, legit cheaters would wait to activate their aimbot until endgame when they really need the refresh. They are looking at this as if it's less harmful to the game since it's not all the time. Now that the big dogs have come out to play, they assured me that in my last video, the cheater did a horrible job of explaining it. So today, we are going to get a breakdown from professional cheaters.
It's DMA, so direct memory access. It's a device mainly used for harmless data transfer. But for cheats, they are operated on a second computer plugged into the card.
Interesting. Okay.
You can basically cheat, but then you're cheating on a second computer, so they can't ban you unless they manually ban you.
Wait, what? That's so broke.
Yeah, it's DMA. So they cheat on a second PC. So that's why like it's even if they do get detected on the second PC, they can't get banned on their account.
Like the actual DMA device, they can detect that obviously, but they won't ban you. You will just get kicked and it will stop your playing.
Gotcha.
The only reason you get banned with DMA is the firmware, which is what hides the card.
Let's talk about how firmware actually works, since it's one of the most important parts of DMA cheats. DMAs are able to stay undetected because of firmware. Firmware essentially acts as a mask that hides what the piece of hardware actually is from Epic. Epic can still detect unusual hardware, but won't ban you until the firmware is detected and 100% decrypted. That's how ban waves work. Epic waits until a large portion of people on a particular firmware are detected, then bans them all at once. Typically, the best firmwares are ones that are only given to a very small group of people, limiting the potential for detection. And remember, the more exclusive the firmware, the more it's going to cost you.
If you're on a private firmware, there might be like, I don't know, maybe only like 10 people who can have it. And like you might have to apply and show ID. So an anti-cheat can't go in and sig the firmware or detect the firmware.
Interesting.
If the firmware is exclusive enough, these cheat devs and sellers will have you go through an application process or may ask you to show your legal government ID so they know exactly who you are before they sell you the cheats. This is to ensure you are not an undercover Epic Games employee or someone looking to get them into legal trouble.
Like Republic ones, for example, Cartoxa. You pay him 150 USD, you send him a code to your AnyBest, he comes onto your PC, flashes your firmware, and it takes 5 minutes and you're good to go.
I remember in Chapter 3, Charlie EXE, he's like the first cheater that I know of who got an official warning from Epic Games. He could literally do anything on that account, since he was like the only one on that firmware. He would show me clips, and I was like, what the f*** is this?
Now, if you want to cheat, it's going to cost you big time. The entry point for a full cheating setup, thankfully, is too expensive for most players to afford. Those with some serious cash can really do some damage.
Let me ask you this. What's like a full price? Let's say if somebody really was about it, right? Like, how much money do you actually have to invest?
You can buy a DNA with no firmware installed, which is $130. A KM box, which is used for the aimbot, is only $45. The real expensive bit, which is the fuser, is around $260. The firmware on the cheaper side is around $150, but the most expensive can go anything like $500 to maybe even $2K for like the real emulated firmware.
Really? That's crazy. What's the most expensive firmware you've ever heard of?
Yeah, the most expensive I've ever heard of was from someone called iTellLove. It was 2.2K USD, and it actually turned out to be a free method that got posted on a website where cheaters can find methods and things.
Now for the question we are all waiting for, is Peterbot cheating? It's important to remember there is no verifiable proof of Peter cheating. There are suspicious moments and clips, but he is innocent until proven guilty.
Why did you cheat? I didn't.
Oh my!
Now I have to be honest, Peter really does do some things that look totally impossible, but how? Well, here's my theory. Peter has been in the community for years. Typically, the proving ground for new players is the token or wager community. This token or wager community is one of the most cheat-infested communities in the game. Ask any pro, and they can verify this. What this means, Peter has quite literally been training against cheaters for years and has naturally developed a play style that counters cheaters, on top of being one of the most mechanically talented players to ever touch the game. One of the biggest skills that separates Peter is his timings of his decisions while fighting. Peter has developed a play style with near perfect timing. I myself did a 1v1 versus someone who I verified was in fact using a DMA and was able to beat them a few times if they were using the legit cheating method the sellers and developers were talking about.
I have infinite mats. What do you mean?
However, if the cheater stays fully toggled, it's wraps. You are not beating them. But 9 times out of 10, cheaters in game don't want to get banned and only toggle in certain situations. There is no doubt in my mind, Peter simply has better timing than these cheaters running amok. Also, Peter has now attended multiple LANs, and Epic has teams that hardware check players' equipment every single time. And one major key you guys pointed out in the comments, nearly all IRL footage of Peter shows him using a single PC setup, and as you know, DMA requires 2 PCs. At this point, I'm putting all of my money on the fact that this kid is innocent. I really hope time proves me right. Disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. This video is not intended to condone cheating in any way. Cheating is directly against Epic Games' terms of service and will result in an indefinite ban. A huge shout out to those who allowed me to interview them. These developers and distributors will remain 100% anonymous, as per our agreement to release this video.